Greetings, Southern Cameroonians, greetings, Ambazonians. This is King H. Well, as you know, it's the beginning of the year, but I'm not gonna wish anyone on my video a happy new year. I'm not, because what is happening on the ground on Southern Cameroon doesn't display the air of happiness. People are dying on ground zero, so I'm not gonna say happy new year to everybody. I'm not, because it's not a happy new year to Southern Cameroonians on the ground. So I'm going to go straight to what brought me here to discuss, because, well, this has to do with President Paul Biya of La Republique of Cameroon and his end of year speech. I don't speak French. Maybe a little bit. I understand a little bit, but I don't speak French. So I can really interpret or understand what President Paul Biya is saying. I had to actually wait to see articles that were writing about what President Paul Biya had said, so that I could air out my views, so that I could express myself on this particular issue. But the article of this title reads "Mixed Reactions to Cameroon's Renewed Threats to Separatists." So President Paul Biya has actually renewed threats to separatists, and, well, I'm not shocked about that anyway. I'm not surprised that he actually did that. There have been mixed reactions in Cameroon to President Paul Biya's renewed threat to crush separatist fighters in the country's two English-speaking regions. Many many Cameroonians were expecting Paul Biya to announce new peace measures in the end of the year's message. Why would Paul Biya want to do that? He wants to crush the spirit of Southern Cameroon, because he's a tyrant. He's a dictator. That's what he's been doing for the past 30 something years. Why would he change his tactics? There's no point. There's no reason for him to actually change his tactic to say, "Oh, this welcome back, my brothers. This is a new year. Let's have a new beginning. Let's try to talk and make sure everything." No, yeah, Bia is not like that. He's not gonna do that. He's not gonna go through that route. He's not gonna do that. I mean, I didn't expect him to do it, because that's not what he's been doing for the past 30 something years. So why would he change? Those were expecting him to say something otherwise. Well, too bad. President Pobia said the security problems in Northwest and Southwest regions remain the most urgent issue to be tackled in the new year. So, which means that President Paul Biya is going to focus more on that urgent issue. And that urgent issue is what is happening inside Southern Cameroon within the Northwest and Southwest region. And he said he had taken several measures allowing armed groups and fighters to lay down their weapons, but the fighters, who are mostly youths, have been brainwashed by Cameroonians in the diaspora. You see, that's where you're wrong, Mr. President Paul Biya. The youths have not been brainwashed by Cameroonians in the diaspora. They have not been brainwashed by them, because those who are fighting this war on the ground, they know what they're doing. They have decided on their own volition to do that. So people who don't want to do it, well, they will step back and do other things to make sure that the revolution continues. But the spirit for freedom, for independence, for complete sovereignty of Southern Cameroon is not done through brainwashing, Mr. President Paul Biya. It's not. You're wrong about that. The people are rising in Southern Cameroon because of what has been going on for the past 60 years. Because of what President Amadou Ahidjo did, and because of what you continue to do. That's why. We were supposed to have gained our independence in 1961, but that didn't happen because the world decided to place us in a conundrum where we cannot win, because our people wanted independence. They didn't want to join Nigeria, nor do they want to join La Republique du Cameroon, but they had no other option but to do so. because of, well, there was no other opportunity to, you know, they were placed between two countries that were really fucked up at the time, and they decided to stay united or to be part of the union with like Republic Cameroon because it was, even though it was dangerous, vicious, it was less more than Nigeria. But still, our people were hoping and fighting to make sure that they can actually regain their own independence. And you actually gave them that opportunity to do that. And I will discuss that more in a book that my uncle is writing. I've actually started reading the book, but I'll discuss that then. But the fact is this: President Paul Biya. This is more what Biya said. Biya said his military will henceforth show no mercy for those who continue to refuse to surrender and be forgiven. So, Southern Cameroonians, what does this mean? The war continues. Biya has reflamed the war, and our people should prepare, because if we really genuinely want freedom from Southern Cameroonians, there's more that we must do. And the more that we must do is one is to make sure that our leaders to stop fighting among themselves. When I watched President Sako's speech, it was good, but there are certain things that he said that were very upsetting, and that actually is creating more division than unity. You got to understand, President Sako, the interim government is not the only organization. I call it organization because it's the fact that they call it the interim government doesn't mean that it's the interim government for the whole of Southern Cameroon. Because as a matter of fact, Southern Cameroon does not have a government. Because if Southern Cameroon had a government, the government should be on the ground, which is why La Republique is still doing everything possible to make sure that they control that territory we call Southern Cameroon, which is why President Paul Biya has inflamed this war to continue. He's giving every support to the soldier of La Republique du Cameroon to fight Southern Cameroon, because he wants to have complete control over Southern Cameroon. So I'm saying this, President Sako, who wants to claim to be the president of president of Southern Cameroon, you are not the only organization that is fighting this revolution. You have to respect the other groups that are also fighting, because before the interim government was created, these other organizations were also fighting to liberate Southern Cameroon. In other words, you cannot have the interim government without the support of all the other groups. And that's the only way forward for us to win this revolution, because interim government doesn't have a strong military. And the other organizations also have their own little military. But the more agonizing thing about this Sako, it's just, I will have to discuss that. And I'll have to discuss his speech in another video, because I really wanted to concentrate more on this President Paul Biya. But the fact is this: President Paul Biya has just decided to continue the war, because that's what Biya understands. That's what Biya knows. But Southern Cameroonians, we must be prepared. We must be ready. We must make sure that our defense forces on the ground have the better weapons, the better AK-47. We don't want to be using den guns in 2020. Because if we continue using den guns in 2020, we will never win this revolution. We will never win this war. And Biya has promised to support his forces. And you know what his forces have been doing? His forces have been raping women, have been killing children, have been killing grandmothers, have been burning down houses. That's what they know, and that's what they're gonna continue to do in 2020. So what are we Southern Cameroonians? We want freedom, we want independence, we want sovereignty, we want a nation of our own. What are we gonna do to make sure that we can stop this monster called like Republic of Cameroon, which is headed by President Paul Biya, the tyrant, the dictator, the healer number two? What are we gonna do to make sure that we can stop this force? It's not by insulting us. It's not by saying, "Oh, the interim government is the only government for the people." It's not. Nah, the interim government is not strong enough to handle this case. We have to understand that the interim government cannot work by itself alone. The interim government must work with the other organizations that have been fighting the revolution against like Republic du Cameroon, which is AGOV, which is Socadev, SCAF, you name it, all of those groups that we have that have been fighting for so long against this dehumanization of Southern Cameroon by La Republique du Cameroon. We have to work as a team. And team doesn't mean that Sako says team Ambazonia and it ends there. No. That doesn't work out that way. Team means including everybody else that is fighting for the freedom of Southern Cameroon. And you cannot say Dr. Sako is not fighting because he is. You can't say Sokadef is not fighting because they are. You can't say the other groups that are part of this revolution are not involved because they are involved. And you must have an inclusive decision with them. They have to be part of this revolution so that this revolution can be successful. And then the killing of children, the killing of kids, the killing of grandmothers, the killing of young boys and girls will stop. The only way to make that is to make sure that our defense forces on the ground are well equipped to face this revolution. And then if we can actually, if our organization, all groups that are fighting for the revolution can actually start concentrating on certain counties, making sure that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 counties are liberated. That means what? That means that the soldiers on that county must be well equipped, must work completely wrong out. That is, they have to concentrate on their counties and eliminate the enemy, and which the enemy is like Republic du Cameroon. The enemy is not us, Southern Cameroonians. It's not us because, oh, we have a different opinion against this person. It's not us because we don't agree with what you're saying and that. No. The enemy is like Republic du Cameroon. We must make sure that in 2020, we concentrate on like Republic du Cameroon and raise the funds needed to buy the weapons that is going to secure the freedom of Southern Cameroonians. If we don't do that in 2020, we will never win this revolution. We will never see the light of freedom. We will never, if we don't come together. But I'm going to analyze President Sako's speech because there's some stuff that he said I'm totally against. But President Paul Biya, well, I never expected any different message from you because that was gonna happen. I mean, you are a tyrant who wants to have complete control over the land of Southern Cameroon, but we will not allow that to happen. We will not. This is King Eju. Till next time.